Raise your hand if you have ever felt personally victimized by your toddler. We are going to go right into talking about toddlers at bedtime and how to make it less of a power struggle. My name is Sarah, and as a certified pediatric sleep expert, I have helped hundreds of families, especially toddlers, stop the battles at bedtime and get those toddlers into bed early so that you can stop watching Paw Patrol and instead binge your Netflix shows on your own so that you can get more sleep. Let's talk about it. Chase is on the case with toddler bedtimes. Listen, I want nothing to do with going back in time to my kids' toddler bedtimes, and I do this for a living, people. It can be really tough to have toddlers at bedtime, and I really want to make it easier for you because there's a lot of compounding factors when we go into bedtime with toddlers. We aren't really talking at this age about sleep skills anymore. It is very likely that your toddlers have the ability to fall asleep. They are not unable to sleep. And this video, I am gonna be really specific. I am not going to be talking about independent sleep skills necessarily. I have lots of other resources if your toddler needs to fall asleep with you in bed, or needs to sleep with you all night long, or needs to have their hand on your ear and the other hand on your shoulder, or to be interlocked with you. Like all of that stuff, we're gonna talk about completely separately. What I really wanna focus on is like that 20 to 90 minutes that it takes you to actually get to that point and really shortening it, because that is going to be considered the will instead of the skill. And toddlers' wills, whew, man, that's just like a whole separate issue. Toddlers have a lot of skill. They have way more will though. I mentioned skill, right? And I mentioned I don't really want to talk about sleep skills. What I want to talk briefly about is their language skills. So when we talk about language, there is the concept of receptive and expressive language. Receptive language is when we receive or hear, and expressive is when we talk. And if we are talking about a wide range of toddler ages, right? Ages 2, 3, 4-ish. We have varying levels of ability in language at this age. However, in general, please, this is in general. I am not a speech therapist. This is very, very general advice. So in general, most toddlers have much more expressive language, so they talk much more, than they actually are understanding at this age. What I mean by that is your toddler might be able to talk up a storm, or it might seem like they are saying a lot and you're like, wow, they can understand a lot because of the way they're speaking. But actually, receptively, they're not really receiving all of the words that you're saying to them. So let's kind of dive into that just a little bit. I want to explain this kind of in layman's terms, and this is my way of describing a research study. So it is backed in science, but really just to delineate this mom to mom. When we are talking to our toddlers, so I'm talking to a toddler and I'm saying, hey, it's time for bed. What I really need you to do tonight is to go and let's take a bath, and then we're going to get out of the bath and we're going to get our pajamas on and blah, 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 right? You can imagine what we're talking. And I know none of you are sitting there and giving these long, long scripts to them. But what I want you to imagine is that for every 5 words you say to them, they are processing every other word, okay? So imagine, they're only getting 3 words, and it's not 3 words in a row, it's every other word. So they're not processing all of it succinctly together. This type of receptive language also sometimes reduces as the day goes on, just because they're not as patient, they don't have the tolerance, because as we get to the end of the day, we're all just tired, right? So think about just us as adults. Like when I get to the end of the day and there's a sink full of dishes, I'm like, can I wash the sink full of dishes? Yes, I can. Do I want to? No. Does it take me digging deep to do it? 100%. This is our toddlers. They don't have the motivation, the willpower, they're exhausted. So maybe now it's not every other word, it's just one of the words they're hearing, right? So now they're stringing together random words and they can't understand exactly what you're saying. And they have willpower. They don't want to get in bed. They just want to hang out with you. They want to read 17 more books because it's their favorite thing to do. They want to eat 85 snacks because who doesn't want to eat snacks all night long? I do. So just think about that, right? And it's compounding at a time of day when, guess what? Nobody wants to go to bed. They don't want to go to bed. You want to go to bed. This is what's causing the power struggle, okay? How do we reduce this power struggle? Them versus you. We use visual cues. Visuals help reduce power struggle. So I want you to understand the types of prompting that we can give our toddlers. So remember when I'm talking about verbal, right? Our verbal language is receptive and expressive. So when we're talking to our toddlers, they're hearing. However, what other types of language cues can they receive? They can receive visual cues. So if we're telling them things and they're like, oh my God, and they can't string it together and they really just want 17 more books and you really just want to watch Netflix and you're really just done, cut it with the verbal. Just shut down the talking, stop with the power struggle. I want you to start including visual cues for your toddlers. And I want you to remember that anytime you try something new, you can't try it for a day or two, especially with a toddler. This is not like tweaking a baby's schedule and having it work in a couple days. You have to do it consistently and you've got to do it every night for like 2 weeks in order to see consistent change, okay? Not a magic fix. So we're gonna order something like this. The link to it will be in the description. When we use a bedtime chart, you have 5 cards that will be here. What we do is we put the order of the cards in the order that we are going to do our bedtime routine. Once our snack is done, we remove our snack card. Once our bath is done, we remove our bath card. The point of this is that as soon as it's done, we tell our child, pajamas are on, and once our pajamas are on, we are done, right? The biggest thing being, there's actually not a book card on here. I want you to pretend these are books, and I'm gonna walk you through the battle with the extra books. Okay, Johnny, the books are all done. I want one more book. Books are all done, it's time for bed. I want one more book. And that's it. I am not saying anything else. I am just taking the card off, I'm removing it. And then what I am doing is I, as the adult, am putting up the boundary. I'm taking the books, I'm putting them away. I am taking Johnny, I am putting him into his bed. I am not explaining anything else to him. I am not saying, okay, one more. I am not saying, no, and this is why. I am not saying, okay, let's set a timer. The boundary is there, my verbal is done, and then I am moving on to the next activity, which is going to be the bedtime. So having something visual isn't going to necessarily stop the behavior in the middle of it. What it does is it actually shuts you down and it removes your verbal interaction so that he understands that he is not going to get anything more out of you except the next thing on the activity list. Another really helpful visual tool can be an okay to wake clock or your Hatch. So I have my daughter's okay to wake clock here, which is not plugged in, so you can't actually see the interface, but typically when it's plugged in and the clock is sleeping, it means that it is bedtime. So if I am at the bedtime card and I say, okay, Johnny, it's bedtime, and Johnny, I don't want to get into bed. And then I say, look, your clock is sleeping, I don't want to get into bed. And then I would pick him up and I would put him into bed. So this is a cue that I'm not arguing with you anymore. The clock is sleeping, I'm putting you into bed. There is no more arguing. And then the cool thing about this is that the clock will be awake. There will be an awake face on the clock when it's time to wake up. A Hatch will work similarly with the Hatch being red when it's time to be in bed. Red means in bed, and we can turn it green when it's time to be awake. Green means go. So in summary, really what I want you to learn is that it's okay to not explain or over-explain or to continue to use verbal with our children who are really, really little. Because sometimes, me included, we think, oh, but if we just explain a little bit more, they'll understand. They actually don't have the developmental ability to do that yet. And it can be overwhelming for them. As a result, this can really increase the power struggle because they're just getting frustrated and they really want one thing and you really want another, and that's what's increasing the bedtime battles. I want you to really reflect on removing that verbal and increasing your visual support with your toddler so that you can reduce your power struggles at the bedtime hour. The thing I love most about being a sleep consultant is being able to help families through these really rough times, because I know exactly what it's like to be in your shoes and to really be in the thick of it with a toddler at bedtime. So if you are in that spot and you have any questions, you would love some troubleshooting help, I want you to scroll down to the comments and leave me your situation and I will be there to assist you. On your way down, leave a like if this video was helpful for you. I love to know so that I can use that as I create more content, which you should subscribe to and turn on notifications for so that you're the first to know when I release new sleep videos. As always, from my living room to yours, thank you so much for coming today, and I can't wait to see you next time.